Is the time to kill too fast in Warzone versus Warzone 2?
I've been hearing a lot of people talk about the TTKs in Warzone 2 being significantly faster than they ever were within Warzone 1. So I thought I'd take a look at the old Warzone meta. I reached out to Warzone Ranked and they were able to hook me up with this graph. So we kind of see a live look at how the metas rotated over the year. And typically some of the fastest guns, or at least the practical TTKs, are generally the meta. Warzone 1 didn't come out till Season 2. M4A1 was the most used weapon at 22%. And you can kind of see how that carried on.
That was
Over
also
here,
just
18%,
like,
a little.
that's what most people had in the game because that's what you start with. And the gun was exceptionally good. Typically, especially at the beginning of these games, the first guns that you unlock are really good, like the Lockman MP5, the submachine gun. For this game, the M4 in even Modern Warfare 22 here, those are very good.
Because they introduced the Growl. And then we also had the AMAX that got introduced, but that was a little bit of a higher skill weapon. You can kind of go season
AX50 is higher skill.
Season, and we didn't get a health increase until much later into Warzone 1's life cycle, towards the end over here, when we tend to see a lot of snipers take over.
I don't know where the SPR is here. I know not that many people really used it. When it first came out, it was broken. Everybody was using it. But then they nerfed it, and it really was more a select few people that were sniping the game. And even still, there's not that, you know, even at the end of Warzone, there was definitely a lot of snipers, more so in solos than the other modes, but they still were, especially at the end of it, quite a big disadvantage once they nerfed the hell out of them, making a lot of them not even one-shot anymore at the end.
Being some of the best long-range weapons. But one of the weapons that stayed dominant for the longest was a close-range weapon that everyone knew and loved as the MP5. See, it pretty much shows up in almost every season.
Yep.
If I actually extended the ranking at the top, you would actually see significantly more. You can see it was over here with the MP7. MP7 gets a nerf, or everyone transitions to using the MP5. It carries over. Look at how dominant the MP5 is, one of the best close-range options. So we have.
And then, again, even when Cold War came out, the MP5 was like the absolute go-to. The run speed was absolutely insane. The hip fire as well was even crazy, as well as even the range. The gun is just, like, they like to make these early guns very, very good. Just like even in the new game now, you look at the 545. I just did a video on that one. Even after the buffs, I still was not very impressed with it. You still don't see that many people using it.
Broken MAC-10. So overall, I looked at the first year of Warzone 1 and kind of looked at a meta by meta basis, kind of look at what the TTKs look like throughout the year. And with my spreadsheet, I was able to look at the original values. I was either able to look at myself, exclusive A's, true game data, someone who covered the specific weapon at or around the time that it was meta, to get the overall data points of what that weapon looked like at the time that it was meta, not the current one, because obviously it had been nerfed into the ground or it got buffed up and it was significantly worse in the beginning. So I kind of looked at that value, plugged it into here to get an idea of where that would put the TTK.
The other thing to consider is at the beginning of the game, back in, you know, the original seasons when it was just Modern Warfare before Cold War, which you see it starts in Modern Warfare seasons and then it goes to Cold War seasons, they didn't increase the health pool until way later into the game, making it have 150 base health and 150 shield health. At the beginning of the game, it was 100 base health with 150 shield health, 50 from each of the plates, and that's how the game is now on Modern Warfare 22, of course, that being Warzone 2 as well. So this is more of a direct comparison, and then everything shifted once they increased the health pool, once they made snipers not allowed to be one-shot headshot, except if it was the long-range, harder-to-use snipers, and they nerfed the bullet velocities of them, so they were working no drop out to 200 meters, then they decreased it to about 140 meters for like the ZRG, with the highest caliber ones.
And this also includes Season 1 DMR of Cold War, as well as the MAC-10. Even though those weren't hard metas for the entire season, because they got nerfed rather quickly, because
they were still powerful for a long time.
They were for about a week and a half the most used weapon in all of Warzone's existence because of how broken they were. And then
to give you perspective of this, if you weren't around for this, I didn't have any golden guns in the game. I didn't get any in Modern Warfare, just like I don't have any in 2022 either. But this was the first gun I got gold. It was the DMR and the, or maybe it was even the AUG with the burst, because that was also kind of partly around the same time when the DMRs became the meta. And the FAR, which was an assault rifle that you kind of used as a submachine gun. It was the first time I got some golden guns.
This is specifically the blueprint version that was bugged that had way more damage, and that gave you a completely broken TTK. Before I go over the results, comment down below. What do you think? Do you think the long-range meta was faster in the first year of Warzone 1 or 2? Same thing goes for the close-range meta. Which do you think is faster, Warzone 1 or Warzone 2?
I mean, we were just even playing with the 300 health, and the time to kill is still pretty quick on the first game. The thing is, you're talking about like milliseconds of differences. So it's not crazy different. Like, you're going to die extremely fast. Like, this is the nature of Call of Duty in the first place, especially with aim assist. Like, you are going to die. I know later in the game with Caldera, there was a lot more outplays with the higher health pools, though, that were possible, especially when you're playing outside of zone. You're able to pull cover. Which one was faster, though? For long range, I would assume that Caldera, or that Warzone 1 was faster for long range. Especially if you're considering sniping, right? Well, yeah, because sniping long range is just one shot and you're dead. And self-reses were not as common back then either. So that just, if you're accounting for snipers, then yeah. But if we're talking about like the Kilo was a really fast time to kill. The Growl was a really fast time to kill. But if you're talking about like 100 meters plus, then that came into the Bruin range, which isn't accounted for here, by the way. But when the Bruin was the long range meta, then the time to kill was extremely quickly, and you could hit through walls for kills for it. But I feel like the right answer is probably going to be Warzone 2 has faster time to kills. So anyways, that's...
And then go back and edit that comment if you were surprised by the results, or was it kind of what you expected? So what we can look at is the long-range TTKs of the M4. It has a rate of fire of 845, and its practical shots to kill at range was 10. Because it did a little bit above 25 damage, it took you right around 10 shots to kill on a practical sense if you got at least one headshot in the mix. Which brings your practical TTK to 639, which is actually kind of fast when you think about it, because towards the end of Warzone, when he had the extra health, everything got nerfed into the ground. We were looking right around 900 for those TTK, so significantly slower. At the beginning of Warzone,
20-30% slower,
quote-unquote meta, along with the Growl. Bruin kind of slipped in there, which killed a little bit faster, but right around
that's what I was just talking about. There you go. CJ got smart, guys.
When we got to the DMR towards the second year of Warzone, it was 278, completely broken. 170 plus damage to the head.
This is what people didn't understand. It's literally like over twice as fast to kill somebody. It was insanely fast to kill somebody with these guns.
60 plus to the body, if I recall off memory, and it allowed you to get 3 shots to kill. Most of the time, if you got double headshot, it would be a 2-shot to kill even faster than that. When it comes to the close range meta, we started off with the MP7, which I think is a very, very, very balanced TTK at 558. And this is the close range TTKs. See, the rate of fires are pretty fast, and the shots to kill are 10, 8, all the way down for the MP5, and then the MAC-10, which was utterly broken at 1100
The other thing
RPM.
to consider with this is that the MAC was actually even more broken, because if you used a specific blueprint that came from the Battle Pass, it actually, I don't remember what it did exactly, but it was extra damage. So it killed people even faster than what it was supposed to kill people if you weren't using the blueprint. We didn't realize this until later on. They patched it after a couple weeks, but it was still very good. The MAC was crazy.
And a ridiculously fast TTK, which got fixed immediately. Like 1 week, they fixed both of those because how broken they were. But I think Raven was already starting to take over by that point. So patches were a little bit faster in the second year of Warzone. And we take a look at that in comparison to the long range meta now. We have the RPK, which is easily the most used.
Wow, look at this. So the RPK, time to kill 600. So this is even faster. So, yeah, this is what I was even saying here, is that this is what I assumed he was going to say, at least, was that the long range was even faster in Warzone 2. It felt like Warzone 1 was pretty fast as well, though. I don't know. That's interesting.
Warzone ranked able to see the API. I would imagine that the RPK is one of the most used weapons across the board. No contest. And that has a practical TTK of 600. Shots to kill, 7. But the rate of fire is only 600, which is a little bit slower. It's a little bit harder to use. The bullet velocities aren't quite as good as they were back then. So it's kind of one of those ones where if you do miss a shot, you do get a realistic TTK. So,
and the other point too is like, but you know, contrary to that to a degree, is that it's a lot easier to hit shots on players because they don't have as much mobility options. Yeah, they can dolphin dive, which is pretty good, but once they do that, then they're prone on the ground. If they're crossing field, I had a kill with the RPK, I think it was yesterday, that was like 110 meters out. I was out in the desert, and I killed him so fast from 100 meters. Like, I couldn't even gotten 2 shots off of a regular sniper by the time I had already killed him with the RPK from past 100 meters, which to me, that's when the snipers should really be the dominant force. But that's why it doesn't really make as much sense, because it's so effective to kill from range. There's such little damage fall off. The recoil is so manageable. Even with the 40-round mag, the damage per bullet in the magazine capacity you have is so good.
Even though its TTK says 600, it's still right within reason for long-range TTKs. TAC 56 is a little bit slower, which is a perfect TTK for long range. And then the Cast-Off 762, which works a
Yeah, see, look, this is a lot more in the scope of what the original range for the game even was. Actually, even slower, really. Quite a bit slower.
a lot like
Still.
the AK-47.
And that, to me, this almost makes more sense. Like, it should be harder to kill people from range with an assault rifle than it is with a sniper rifle. That's my point.
In Cold War, very similar with the 700 TTK for long range. So I think long range speaking, this is a good TTK. I think when you go a little bit longer, it can feel bullet spongy, even though I'm a fan of having to hit more shots, whatever. But in general, I think majority of the player base likes a good TTK that doesn't feel like you're instantly dying or squishy. And I think where it's at right now, RPK could maybe get a slight nerf. But besides that, I think
Yeah,
we're
if
in
you
a good
look
spot.
at this is faster than what all of the time to kills were for Warzone 1, right? Basically, if you look at the RPK, but not by that much, but it is faster. But again, players are also
based
moving
off
slower.
of how well the first year of Warzone felt.
And if you get shots on, they can't run away and just replay and get a reposition and get back up.
In terms of long range TTK,
That's more so even for
but
close
keep in
range
mind
fights.
they had a one-shot sniper, which we don't really have in Warzone 2. When it comes to the close range TTK, we can see that this is significantly faster than what we had for a majority of the year. And a lot of these TTKs ended up being close to 600 by the time the end of Warzone 2 was happening. So this is dramatically faster when you're talking about an extra 50 to 60 milliseconds.
The other thing to keep in mind is, like, if you put on some aim down sight attachments, right? This is the difference. Even if you, and this is where I think a lot of people also say this game is very clunky, it's very slow, because a lot of the optics, especially as you put more attachments on, even if you don't have an optic on, it decreases the aim down sight speed at a stronger direct trade-off to like recoil control and such. So then you delay that by 40, 50 milliseconds. That is in the kill window. That's a massive difference in the kill window here, which is also why some of even, shooting as you're starting to hip fire is a very good strategy to do. But that's like, it becomes an even bigger difference, because by the time you're waiting for your guy to go aim down sight, 40 milliseconds have gone by because the other guy's got, either the submachine gun, maybe they're already ADS'd around the corner. You can't do a jump shot. You can't do a B-hop shot around the corner. So that's where it feels even worse. Even if you try and do a jump shot, it's slower to aim down sight while you're trying to do this. It's not as accurate. And you're already dead by the time anything happens, because it's also even faster to kill already. And that's assuming you even found the third plate and got up to full health when you probably only have 2, especially if it's at the beginning of the game or something,
Warzone. And for a lot of these, it would be as simple as changes to 8 shots to kill. That might be a little bit too slow of a penalty there. We change this one to 8 shots to kill. Ends up being mostly perfect there with the Lockman sub. And then we go the Fennec. We drop that up to 10 shots to kill, not 20. We can end up with the TTK right around there. So they would still be more than likely the meta, but that extra bullet difference ends up creating a TTK that at least feels like you had a chance in the gunfight. And then it's not really who saw the other person first. Let me know your thoughts. Would you be open to these changes, or do you think it should just stay the way it is? Show us supporting the content.
Yeah, I think they could definitely decrease the time to kill for close range. It feels kind of insane, but, I think that is, to what I always talk about with this, I think that is them designing the game to be extremely noob-friendly. They want to give you an experience that is like a slot machine on this, is what I always compare it to, where it's like every once in a while you just get super lucky. Somebody walks in front of you that doesn't know what they're doing. Or like I had an end game where I came back from the gulag, I sat in a bush all the way to the end of the game, and it was 1v1, and I pop up and managed to kill this guy in a split second before he could react to anything. And it gives me, as somebody who's got nothing, an opportunity to kill somebody who's probably on like a 10-15 kill game, killed everybody at the end game lobby, but I hid in a corner and got the shot on it. And now I got this crazy comeback story where I never would have won in a normal case scenario, or would have been a lot harder. It makes it a lot easier to make some of those things possible. Bada bing, you got yourself a crazy story oh, this one time we did that, I made this play and I clutched this thing and blah, 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 blah. They want to give that experience to as many people as possible. Give it a nice roll of the dice. Give it a nice little pull of the slot machine where you get lucky on it and bada bing. You got an armor satchel. The other guy doesn't have an armor satchel. You're going to win that fight 90% of the time if you're gun on gun, right? Like, even if you're bad at aiming, the aim assist will help keep it on board for you. You get the shot. Even if you're brand new to the game, you can get a cool kill. You get a good come up. Even if you don't win, you got a couple kills. You're feeling good. Like that, I think, is what they're catering, especially for the ultra fast time to kill. Where now, if you miss a couple of those shots, but what Jay God's saying, you add a couple shots to it. All right, you add even one more bullet they have to land. That's still, maybe 10% worse. So 1 out of 10 of the fights you lose less often. There's a bunch of other things. They all tweaked these things over like 3 years for Warzone 1 that eventually changed all of this for, the sake of making this be more towards the skilled player is going to win the fight. Great video by Jay God. Again, if you haven't checked him out, we look at a lot of his videos. He's got great commentary, great conversation about all this. Let's look at a couple comments. Another issue is because movement and animations are slow. So you really have a hard time, what does it say? Resetting gunfights when you're at the disadvantage, 100%. And that goes to this game, especially for Warzone 2, and especially in the close range, which is already, maybe a little. If you look at the initial charts here, it is faster, right? It's fast, even faster time to kill. And if you get the damage on, that player cannot run away. But the benefit to the other side of this statement that I will say is that it does make it easier for you to get the ambush. So if you don't go for a replay and you adjust to this game style, you go around that corner and you sit in that corner. So when they come around, you're already aimed down sight. You don't have to wait for that aim down sight. They have to wait for the animation to lock on. That's how you outplay in this game. It's not run away and replay. It's sit in a random corner and get lucky that they don't choose that corner to pre-fire, and you land the shots on them before they do. Time to kill so fast. You have to have that gun to get the fast enough time to kill. That's one of the reasons, again, I've had to bring the submachine gun to win these exact fights there. That exasperates the issue, along with the fact that you get stuck with only 2 plates if RNG has denied you a satchel. Exactly. This was to the point of what I was saying earlier, is like, you're going to lose the fight. If you got 2 plates, they have 3, and you go into a head-to-head fight, you should not win that fight. It is a massive difference, 50 health. If movement was jacked up slightly, aim down sight was increased, time to kill issue it'd make it more bearable. And this is, again, I think this is, obviously, if we're even watching this or talking about this, you guys are listening to this, probably we're a lot sweatier of players anyways, probably we're paying more attention to the game versus the person who just spends an hour in the afternoon casually playing the game. Or maybe, maybe not. Some of you guys are out there that just casually play and do watch a lot of the content too. But more so, I would say, on general, it is the sweatier players that would have the preference for higher time to kills, more opportunity for outplay. So in reality, the time to kill is 677 and 515. If you remove the DMR and the MAC, which is realistic in terms, more realistic. Seems odd to include them. You have 3 plates. It's fine. They should make armor plates do what Tempered did instead. Yeah, so that makes it so you have 2 plates that refills you back to full health rather than... I actually like that. That's a good point. If they just made it so the satchel did Tempered, where you just take 1 less plate, allows you to replate faster. Anyways, great video. Check it out. There's some of my commentary on it. Thanks for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed. That's for this one. Stonemout64. Over and out. Jason Hunter, also the 3 months resubbing the page. Welcome back, baby. Appreciate it, man.